The term GOAT is actually applied far too often in these days, but in this particular case, it certainly applies. As Jerry Rice, the Hall of Famer, three-time Super Bowl champion, joins me now from the shores of Lake Tahoe, Nevada, where sports celebrities each year participate in the annual American Century Championship. Jerry, welcome to BNC.
Well, thank you. It's great being here.
First question is an easy one. How's the golf game? Are you ready for this weekend?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and how's the golf game? And one thing about golf, you just never know. And you could put all the preparation in, the practice, and you still have to go out on that golf course, and you have to apply it, and you have to create shots, and you have to drain putts. So my mindset is that I really don't know how my golf game is right now, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity of going out there and competing.
Hey, answer this for me. Why does it seem like quarterbacks always seem to have the best golf games? I mean, for whatever reason, Romo's been very good recently. I know the former Washington quarterback, another fellow former Super Bowl MVP, Mark Rippon, was always really good at. Why do quarterbacks always seem to succeed on the links?
I think the quarterbacks, they don't get beat up like the guys in other positions. You got to think about that, because as a receiver, as a, say, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, linebackers, defensive backs, it's a lot more contact happening on the football field. And plus these guys too, man, they able to break things down just a little bit better than other guys in other positions.
I mentioned earlier that the term GOAT seems to be tossed around far too often these days. In your mind, for someone who is a true GOAT in his craft and in his field, is it a little bit of an insult when you hear it applied so often to so many people? Well,
GOAT is just not for athletes. It could be a frontline worker. It could be an entrepreneur. It could be people in other positions. Anybody that daring to be great. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. The weirdest thing is that, when you said that to me, it made me feel a little weird, because I never think of myself as being the greatest of all time. But, I was always trying to give 100%, and I wanted to leave everything on the football field. And I think it's an honor for you to say that. But, yeah, it's just for people that's really just daring to be great on a given day.
Well, it's very humble of you to say that. I know many people do, though, consider you to be the GOAT. In fact, nearly 17 years after your last game, you're still the NFL's all-time leader in receptions, receiving yards, total touchdowns with 208. Is there one of those stats that means more to you than any other?
No, you know what? Because it was never about the records. It was about the love of the game and always going out there playing for the fans. And I had great teammates to put me in a position where I could, really break a lot of records, and I give them all the credit. But, I just enjoyed putting that uniform on, going out there in front of 30 to 60,000 people, and just being a little kid on the football field. So, it was a blessing for so many accolades and all of that, but it's all because of my teammates.
Well, you mentioned the love of the game. Tom Brady won his 7th ring at the age of 43. You started your final season at the age of 42, if I'm not mistaken. What is it like to exhibit that love of the game to a point where it almost seems like they have to tear the jersey off of you?
Well, if I could still play today, I would still be on that football field. But, the clock was ticking. Father age finally caught up to me. And I really have to commend Tom Brady for what he's doing on the football field. He leaves the Patriots and he goes to the Bucks, and he wins another championship. I think he wants to play till he's like 45 or more. And I think because of the position that he's playing, he's capable of doing that. But, man, if I had a wish, I probably would say I would love to put that uniform back on of the San Francisco 49ers and get back on that football field.
Well, yeah, and you, of course, know somewhat what Tom Brady went through, having played the first 16 years of your career in San Francisco before heading to the Oakland Raiders. You're 58, and yet you still look half that age. So you said you'd love to put the uniform back on. If the 49ers came to you, if Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch came to you and said, we need 1 quarter from you, Jerry, could you do it?
That's hypothetical. We're not going to think like that. I'm not going to put that in my head, because you know what? Without a heartbeat, I would put that uniform back on, get back on the field.
What do you see, Jerry, when you watch the game today? Because it is somewhat different. For instance, I wonder what kind of numbers you would have put up considering how they protect receivers more now, because you made your living in large part over the middle, and you were privy to being able to get blown up over the middle. Rules are much different now. So what do you see when you watch today's game, and do you think at all, man, I wonder what I could have done even more of had I played in this era?
I never think about, or I wonder about if I was playing in this era, the numbers that I would put up. I played in the era that I wanted to play in. I think, if the ball was being thrown to the right, and I was on the left side, I was still getting hit on the left side. If I was going across the middle, you had linebackers trying to take my head off. So, I think we made the game a lot better for the guys that are really playing the game now. It's a safer game, but, I wouldn't go back and change anything. The era that I played in, it was real special.
Yeah, it was special for every one of us able to witness as well. Do you happen to have a favorite receiver? Because this really is a tremendous age and era for receivers right now in the National Football League. So many talented guys. Do you happen to have one in particular that you love watching perhaps more than any other?
Well, I still love watching all the receivers, but I'm still a Larry Fitzgerald guy, man. What he brings to the game, his mentorship, his leadership. It's really special, and I would love to see that guy win a Super Bowl.
A couple more for you and I'll let you go. Historically black colleges and universities have really come up in the news more and more as of late. You're a proud alum of Mississippi Valley State University, which is in the SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, same conference that houses Jackson State, whose coach is your former teammate Deion Sanders. He's certainly created a tremendous amount of buzz in Jackson. Eddie George, former Tennessee Titan, Dallas Cowboy, is now on the sideline at Tennessee State in Nashville. Do you ever give any thought whatsoever to maybe putting on that whistle and coming back and coaching yourself?
I've been asked that question so many times. And I tell people, I think I left everything on the football field, because I didn't take any shortcuts. I worked every day. I felt I had to earn everything, my work ethic, the preparation behind it. So no, as a mentor or something like that, being around, being associated with a lot of the players from the San Francisco 49ers, they can pick my brain. I can really help them in different situations, but I have never thought about coaching. I love what Deion Sanders, Eddie George, what they're doing, and they're going to bring a lot of attention to those schools, and I support them 100%.
Speaking of those schools, there was a period in the 80s where 3 out of the 4 Super Bowl MVPs were HBCU alums. You had Richard Dent, you had Doug Williams, and then yourself. Richard Dent, Tennessee State.
Really?
Doug Williams, Grambling, and yourself. So that's Super Bowls 20, 22, and 23. Just how important should people understand HBCUs and the history of those players? How important have you all been for the NFL?
I think it's very important, and I think the guys that you named off, their work ethic and what they try to exemplify, because we knew the pressure that was put on us to go to the next level, and being able to be productive and bringing attention to those schools, it will open the door for so many other athletes. And I never wanted to let Mississippi Valley State down. I'm sure, you know, with Doug Williams, Grambling and all that. And it was a pleasure to really play for a HBCU. And I wouldn't go back and change anything. I get asked this all the time, you know, because I got letters from all the major schools like USC, Notre Dame, all of those big schools. But I decided to go to Mississippi Valley State University, and I think it was the best choice for me.
He is the most prolific scorer in the history of the National Football League, 13-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, Jerry Rice, Hall of Famer. Thanks so much for joining us on BNC.
Thanks for having me.